All right, let's talk about something that drives every single GPU developer crazy. You've been there, right? You're coding for a GPU, everything seems fine, and then boom, your program crashes in a place that makes absolutely no sense. It's a classic CUDA headache, but I promise it's one you can totally get a handle on. Today, we're going to demystify exactly why this happens and what you can do about it.
So let's start with the big one, the question that probably brought you here. Why does my CUDA code crash in the wrong place? You launch a kernel, feeling good about it, and then way down the line, maybe 100 lines later, a totally simple function like a memory copy just dies. It's confusing, it feels completely random, and it makes debugging feel like you're chasing a ghost through your own code.
See, on a CPU, life is pretty straightforward. If you have an error on line 50, your program crashes on line 50. Cause and effect are right there holding hands. But with GPUs, we get this bizarre action at a distance problem. Your kernel fails at line 50, but the program just keeps on trucking, only to crash much, much later, pointing the finger at some totally innocent bystander function. To figure this out, we have to get our heads around asynchronous errors. The best way to think about this is like a delayed fuse. The CPU lights the fuse on the GPU and then just walks away, completely oblivious to the fact that a bomb is about to go off.
So here's the deal. An asynchronous error is one that happens on the GPU hardware, the device, long after the CPU, the host, has given it the command and moved on. They work on their own schedules, you see. So the CPU is just happily chugging along, running its own code with zero idea that a catastrophe has already happened over on the GPU.
Let's walk through the life of one of these phantom bugs. Step 1, your CPU launches a kernel. The CUDA API immediately says, "Yep, got it," and returns CUDA success. The fuse is lit. Step 2, on the GPU, your kernel actually starts running and it fails. Maybe it's an illegal memory access. Poof! The explosion happens, but it's a silent one. Step 3, meanwhile, your CPU is just carrying on, none the wiser. And finally, step 4, you call another CUDA function, maybe a CUDA memcopy, to get your results. It's only then that the CPU gets the bad news about that earlier kernel launch. The error report is completely disconnected from the crime scene. And you have to understand, these errors are a huge deal. Once a kernel fails, it's not some small, isolated problem you can ignore. It really is like spilling ink in a swimming pool. You can't just clean up one little spot. The entire GPU context is now contaminated. This brings us to a really important idea: sticky errors. So not all errors are created equal. You've got your non-sticky errors, which are recoverable. Let's say you try to allocate way too much memory and get a CUDA error memory allocation. No biggie. You can catch that error, maybe try again with a smaller size, and your app can keep running. But a sticky error, like that CUDA error illegal address from a bad kernel, well, that's catastrophic. It means the GPU is now in a corrupted, zombie-like state. From that point on, every single CUDA call will fail. The only fix is to terminate the whole process and start fresh. Okay, so that all sounds a little scary, I know, but it is completely manageable. Let's talk about your first line of defense: simple, proactive checks that you can build right into your code.
This is rule number 1, folks. You should never, ever make a raw CUDA API call without checking its return value. A really common way to handle this is with a C++ macro, usually called something like GPU error check. This little snippet of code wraps your CUDA function, checks the result, and if it's anything other than CUDA success, it prints out the error message, the file, and the exact line number where the problem was finally reported. This is absolutely essential for serious debugging.
Now, when you're checking for these errors, you've got two main tools, and their difference is super important. CUDA getLastError does what it says. It returns the last error. But here's the key part. It also resets the error state back to CUDA success. This is what you'll use 99% of the time. Then there's CUDA peekAtLastError. It returns the error too, but it does it without resetting anything. This is perfect if you're writing a library and need to check the GPU state without messing up the main application's error handling. These call-level checks are great, but remember, they still only tell you where the error was reported, not where it actually started. To find the source of the fire, we need to force the GPU to show its hand, and we can do that by changing the runtime environment itself. Meet your new best friend, your secret weapon: CUDA launch blocking equals 1. This is an environment variable you set before you run your app, and it fundamentally changes how CUDA works. Think of it as the slow motion button for your GPU code. So what does this magic command do? It forces every asynchronous operation to become synchronous. When you launch a kernel, the CPU now has to stop and wait right there until that kernel is completely done running. This means if your kernel crashes, the error gets reported immediately, right on the line where you launched it. That whole action at a distance nightmare, gone. Now here's the huge warning label. This will absolutely destroy your performance. This is a debugging tool and an amazing one, but you never, ever, ever want to use this in production code. So once you've used CUDA launch blocking to find the exact kernel that's failing, you might need to dig deeper to figure out why. And that's when we move beyond simple checks and into NVIDIA's professional-grade debugging toolkit. The NVIDIA Compute Sanitizer is your go-to for finding those really subtle bugs that might not even cause a crash. MemCheck is the superstar here. It'll find any out-of-bounds memory accesses. RaceCheck finds those awful data races in shared memory. InitCheck catches you reading from uninitialized memory. And SyncCheck can spot issues with thread synchronization. It is an incredible suite of tools for ensuring your code is actually correct. And for performance issues, which, let's be honest, are often just another kind of bug, you have two amazing profilers. Choosing between them is actually really simple. It just depends on the question you're asking. If you're wondering, why is my whole application slow? You want NiceSight Systems. It gives you that big picture timeline view of your CPU and GPU. But if you've already found a slow kernel and your question is, why is this specific kernel so slow, then you need NiceSight Compute. It's like a microscope for that one kernel. Okay, so theory is great, but let's put it all together. We're going to walk through a super common real-world scenario to see how these tools can turn a confusing nightmare bug into a simple, straightforward fix. So imagine this. You're training a machine learning model in PyTorch, and you get this super vague device-side assert triggered error. It's pointing at your model.backward step, but that just doesn't feel right. So what's your first move? You set CUDA launch blocking equals 1 and run it again. And just like magic, the error moves. It now points directly to the embedding layer, way back in the forward pass. You've found the real culprit. A little digging shows the root cause. Some of your input data has indices that are out of bounds for your lookup table. And the solution? A simple check on the CPU to validate the data before you even send it to the GPU. A bug that could have taken days to solve becomes a 5-minute fix. And that's really the point of all this. Mastering these techniques isn't just about fixing crashes faster. It's about changing your mindset. It lets you ask a much deeper question. Are you just reacting to bugs as they pop up, or are you proactively building a reliable architecture from the ground up? And that right there is the real power of understanding CUDA error handling.